Mel, 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 everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat Mel. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here, GameStop, fascinating stock. I'm going to try to be as objectively as I can possibly on this. I think that if the management is smart, they're going to do a lot of, offering. They're going to try to dilute shareholders. They're going to try to do what they can to make sure the company is benefiting from the current pump. Because I really do think the current pump is not so much because of retail trying to screw Wall Street. Like, that narrative is gone. All the entire pump so far, I think, is really being handled mostly by big money. And it is really because of a phenomenon where there are a lot of people that are shorting stocks. A lot of people are still buying into bearish narratives, but global liquidity is rising. And I think the pump for GME GameStop is really a phenomenon that's reflective of that process rather than just these retails are going out there being degenerates. I don't think that's the case. These moves are made really by bigger money. Like, if you look at a monthly chart, the MCDX Plus here, like, these are supposed to be more whalish momentum. And you can see, throughout the entire three and a half years, you really have this downtrend of the whales, and you do have increase in retail accumulation for a long time. But the important thing to notice is that the whales never really left. Like, they never really, on the monthly, have gone down less than 50% whales. They never really left. They were looking for an opportunity to sell off to retail, and then they're looking for an opportunity to buy at a spot where they feel like buying, to try to pump the stock again, try to short squeeze people, to try to just make money from any kind of contrarian narratives if they can, right? Just looking at the chart, like, you can see that this big giant green candle over here, this is a monthly chart, right? This big giant green candle over here has engulfed 41 candles so far. Generally, what this, engulfing, like, inside candles, generally what it means is that you are stuck in a range, and most likely after this consolidation is going to resume the primary trend. What is the primary trend? Well, the primary trend is actually up because it made an all-time high in January 2021. And in terms of, for all practical purposes, you just made a higher low in April 2024. So this is a very, very nice bull trend. There are a lot of concerns in terms of, like, PE ratio and all that, but I'm not going to talk about all that. If you really talk about fundamentals, like, it's who knows? Like, next thing you know, GameStop ends up buying Bitcoin. Like, it's game over. Like, it's and Bitcoin ends up going to 3 digits, and next thing you know, like, it really depends on what they want to do with the liquidity that are flowing into the stock. But anyway, sticking back with the technicals again. It favors bullish continuation. Again, whales have come in for the month of June. They really started to push away retail over here for the month of May, right? But even for the month of June, they're really starting to come back up here. Before it was like, low 50s, now they're in like the mid 60s, right? So that's something to consider. There are a couple other things to consider. One is it looks like it wants to push higher overall because it's forming higher low over here, and next thing you know, it should probably want to form a higher high. And the magnet is probably going to be up here on the top of the range up here, right? And see whether or not you're able to break above that to go up higher. But that's probably going to be the magnet based on this 41 inside monthly candles. What it's trying to do, I'm seeing a lot of things on the daily, weekly, and monthly chart. It looks like it wants to push up higher, but it's just not able to because you still are facing resistance. This is still a stock. It still respects gravity. It can't just go up all of a sudden just because it wants to go up. So it's still going to follow gravity, and a lot of gravity is that you have the monthly Bollinger Band here. You just can't get way too outside the upper Bollinger Band. You're going to end up getting punished, especially at the beginning of a bull trend that might be happening in the longer term. But you can see the 20 monthly average is really starting to flatten over here, right? Last month it was 19.15, currently it's 19.17. I mean, granted, it could still be a little bit down sloping if price end up closing in June back inside Bollinger Band. It can continue to let negative slope, right? But right now it's flat. What happened last time when the 20-month average was turning flat? Well, it basically happened right before big giant green candle, right? I'm not saying that we're going to get this big giant green candle. You actually don't want this if you're in this stock. You actually want a little bit more of a sustainable move up. But I do think that we end up closing, at the upper Bollinger Band like we do currently in about 2 weeks. Who knows what's going to happen in 2 weeks, but we end up closing at or above the Bollinger Band on the monthly. Next month is going to end up having an expansion of the Bollinger Band upwards and downwards, and the 20 moving average can end up curling up, and that would be a very, very nice beginning of a bull trend, like it did over here, right? So you really want to see something like that to happen. Currently, there's no confirmation for that, but it looks like that's what it's trying to do. Now, on the Ichimoku, you have a bullish crossover here with the Tenkan Nikishin, basically caused by this big giant candle here in May 2024 with this big giant wick over here. Just like you did have a bullish crossover here, back in like October, November 2020. You were starting to have a little bit of bullish crossover here now. Unfortunately, this continues to serve as resistance too, right? So is the Ichimoku cloud above. It's going to be serving as resistance. All of this is going to be around anywhere from like 30s, 40s, and 60, right? That's going to be the range. If you take into account of the Super Ichi cloud, which is a variant of the Ichimoku cloud, but taking into account of the super trend, it moves a little bit faster. And what you've seen that it kind of got rejected right at the top of the Super Ichi cloud over here. It's trying to find support underneath. Right now it's at the upper Bollinger Band, right? It might also potentially find support over here at the baseline over here, potentially. So we'll see. But currently, it just looks like price still wants to go up higher on the monthly, although it's just hitting a lot of resistance. It's just not really being able to do really trying to push itself up yet. I'm going to show you in terms of what the weekly is doing. If you just ignore this, big giant wick over here for the week of May 2024, May 13. If you just ignore this big giant wick right here, you can see it's really been forming more or less like higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? So and the whales are also in, like they really haven't really been for a very long time. You have a deceleration of whales that have gone through for about 3.5 years, and next thing you know, whales are really starting to come in again. So there is a fundamental change in terms of whalish momentum, in terms of trend, because it is forming higher highs and higher lows. So there are a lot of very positive things to kind of look into that. Now, same thing, if you put up the Bollinger Band, you're going to see what I mean. Like if price wants to go up higher, on the weekly you have a very nice expansion of the Bollinger Band up and down with your 20-week moving average curling up, right? So this generally tells you it's probably going to be bullish continuation to keep going up. Unless if obviously it breaks down back inside and you end up testing back, retracing back to the mean over here at the 20-week moving average. There's always that possibility, and whales can cool down a lot. You might lose a lot of short-term momentum. You might just going sideways a little bit. But so far, it looks like traders have just really been buying GameStop, gobbling up all the stocks when it's underneath the weekly Bollinger Band, and when it gets above to anywhere from like the 40 and 60 range up here, they just end up selling. I'm going to show you the daily chart in terms of what I'm really seeing here in terms of what the range is, but it just looks like whenever it's just way outside of the Bollinger Band here on the weekly, they just sell and then they buy it back when it gets back inside of the upper Bollinger Band, right? That's what's been happening. And when it gets a little bit too far above, they sell, and gets a little bit too far down below inside the upper Bollinger Band, they buy. So this is probably going to end up keep on pushing up. I cannot be bearish on this chart if the price is currently way outside the upper Bollinger Band. I just cannot be bearish on this chart. Like it's just been really impulsive in terms of what it's trying to do. Same thing, look at Ichimoku, you have run into a lot of these resistance up here around the 30s, 40s. If you look at the Super Ichi cloud, you can see that this actually has been looking more and more bullish. The Super Ichi again is faster, right? You had a very nice bullish cross down here on the weekly here, and right now price basically just kind of went back inside the Bollinger Band, is finding support here at the conversion line over here, and also on top of the Super Ichi cloud. So far there's a lot of kind of these bullish bullish indicators to tell you that trend most likely wants to continue to expand the bullish band and wants to go up over time, but you're hitting a lot of these different resistance, which is preventing it from doing so right now. It needs time for the weekly Bollinger Band to expand. It needs time for the monthly Bollinger Band to expand as well, right? That's just the nature of the beast. The other thing I wanted to show you is on the daily chart. You can clearly see that traders are having a great time right now because they are trading a very clear range over here. You have the upper range down here and you have the lower range down here. It's basically been trading more or less as a symmetrical triangle. It might take another week or so to really try and get to the end of this, to really try and pick a direction, either going up or going down. Again, what did I say about, in terms of what I favor, whether or not this is going to be more likely to have bullish continuation or is this going to be the end of this, kind of like this bullish signal over here? This is going to be the end. You just end up going back down here to like 12 and 13 and just keep going lower, right? Right now, I favor up because, again, you form a very, very nice higher high over here compared to a lot of these highs over here. You just have clearly very, very nice higher high over here, right? So I cannot really be that bearish on this. And the trend favors that once this symmetrical triangle breaks, is probably going to end up breaking up. But guess probably what's going to happen, I have to guess, it's probably going to testing top of the range over here around like 40s. And it might get rejected. It might end up going down here around the 27 or something like that. And it might find support, and it might even bounce here for another couple of days. After that, after about a whole week or so, maybe even longer, maybe even another week, it's probably going to end up breaking above or below. And if I have to pick up, probably going to pick up that it's going to end up going above. When this happens, how do I know a bigger move is coming? Well, I mean, if you look at the Bollinger Band, you can see that it's been squeezy. It's getting a little bit squeezier here, isn't it? So I think when price ends up going sideways like that, it's going to get even squeezier, and eventually it's going to end up having a very big move either up or down after that. I also want to show you something that's a little bit more important, which is going to be more in terms of the trend. If you look at just the moving averages, you can see currently price is still kind of finding support at the 20-day moving average, and 20 is way above 50, is way above 100. There's a very, very nice separation of 20 and 50 and 100 daily moving averages, right? When was the last time this has happened? Well, you certainly don't have a bull trend over here. It's just been kind of oscillating around here. You have a little bit of a bull trend over here around like May to June 2023, but it really hasn't really had this big giant expansion, right? Like this big giant expansion, you're really not going to be able to see that really since all the way back here before this big giant bull run had happened around like August, September of 2020. Like this is really the same kind of moving average spread, if you will, the same kind of bull trend, if you will, that I haven't really seen since the beginning of this last bull trend. I don't know, if I can count on the smaller time frame here to tell me that things are just going to end up keeping to go up a lot higher. I really don't know that, but I think that it favors that so far, and I think this might be the beginning of something that's bigger for the next few months. I do not know, but based on looking at this so far, there's not anything to invalidate that thought. So I'm going to end up leaning more bullish on GME in a more objective manner. But you have to watch for any potential downside. And what are the downside? Well, on the weekly, you can end up hitting the Ichimoku cloud around 20. You can even go back underneath, to the bottom of the cloud here around 17. And it would lose this kind of short-term higher low kind of thing if it ends up doing that. If it ends up doing that, then it might end up just having a little bit of kind of like an Elliott wave correction before its bullish continuation, right? You do have potential for it to kind of come down. I don't want to lie and let you know that it's going to just end up breaking above the symmetrical triangle, just going up. There could also be a false breakdown of the symmetrical triangle and find some support and end up bouncing. All those are entirely possible. This is how they trick you, right? And on top of that, could there also be a potential for reversion to the mean, where it hits the 20-week moving average down here around the 18 to 16 range before going up higher? There's always that possibility, right? You want to make sure that you're aware of what the downside risk is instead of just looking at the upside risk. Although I think that currently it does look like over the next few months, if I have to guess, it does look like it wants to go up higher. And it does look like it wants to challenge the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly here above. Again, we will see whether or not that happens. If it ends up pushing that above that, then you're talking about getting to the top of this wick over the top of this candle over here, which is a candle body, which is around 80. The top of the wick is around 120. If you ask me how high I think this cycle could potentially go, and what are some of the crazy targets that I can see potentially happening, well, you simply can look at the Fibonacci extension levels. Like if you want to do like an exponential fib, 580 is a possibility. I don't want to be that crazy, but that's always a possibility that I can hit if you're being like, a little bit less crazy, a little bit more conservative. Once it breaks out about like 120, you're really talking about maybe like 200, 300, 400, 500, right? Depends on how high it wants to go. But once it breaks above, I think it's potentially is going to end up hitting some of the higher targets right over here. And these are probably going to be locations where people are going to start taking a lot of profit around 200, 300, 500. That's my guess. Anyway, there's no guarantee when it comes to a volatile stock like this, but objectively speaking, I cannot be bearish on this chart right now unless if it shows me otherwise, which is kind of crazy for me to even think about and talking to you about, because I really don't associate GameStop as something that would necessarily pump this year. But it looks like it wants to. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy this content. And I know there's a great interest in this stock, so I'm going to try to share my thoughts, and I'm going to try to be as objective as possible rather than just, trying to hype it up and saying that this is going to do that, this is going to do that. Like there's no guarantee, but I'm leaning more bullish based on some of these objective things that I see. Anyway, take care. Bye.